Χαίρετε κυρίες και κύριοι, έχουμε μαζί μας την κυρία Μαρίνα Πρεντουλή, η οποία είναι επίκουρη καθηγήτρια στο University of East Anglia και μέλος του ΣΥΡΙΖΑ Λονδίνου. Κυρία Πρεντουλή, καλησπέρα.
Καλησπέρα.
Βρισκόμαστε σήμερα εδώ στην TRAFALGAR Square, όπου πραγματοποιείται μια συγκέντρωση αλληλεγγύης προς την Ελλάδα. Πείτε μας δύο λόγια για τη σημερινή ημέρα.
Σε αυτή τη συγκέντρωση θα είναι διάφορος κόσμος, όχι μόνο ο κόσμος που είναι στο ΣΥΡΙΖΑ Λονδίνου, αλλά έχουμε πάρα πολύ υποστήριξη από το Greek Solidarity Campaign, από την αριστερά της Αγγλίας, από διάφορα κόμματα, συντρόφους ακόμα και από το Εργατικό Κόμμα, από τους Πράσινους. Όλοι αυτοί θέλουν να υποστηρίξουν την Ελλάδα, γιατί έχουν νιώσει και οι ίδιοι τις καταστροφικές συνέπειες που είχε η λιτότητα σε όλη την Ευρώπη. Αυτό το ξέρουμε και στην Αγγλία. Θα ξέρεις για τις καμπάνιες που γίνονται για το NHS. Οπότε όλη η Ευρώπη αυτή τη στιγμή και ειδικά στην Αγγλία νομίζω ότι έρχεται να υποστηρίξει την ελληνική κυβέρνηση.
Οι εξελίξεις που αφορούν την Ελλάδα είναι καταιγιστικές τα τελευταία 24 ώρα. Ποια είναι τα μηνύματα τα οποία λαμβάνετε από τον πολιτικό κόσμο εδώ στη Βρετανία?
Όλοι πιστεύουν ότι είναι η πρώτη φορά που επιτέλους καταφέρνουμε να μιλήσουμε κατά της λιτότητας, που καταφέρνουμε να μιλήσουμε κατά της καταστροφικής συνέπειας που είχαν όλες οι πολιτικές, οι νεοφιλελεύθερες πολιτικές της Ευρώπης. Όλοι είναι μαζί μας, όλοι έχουν χαρεί πάρα πολύ με την εκλογή του ΣΥΡΙΖΑ και νομίζω ότι αρχίζουμε να έχουμε ένα πολύ μεγάλο ρεύμα υποστήριξης.
Πιστεύετε ότι η εκλογή του ΣΥΡΙΖΑ θα δημιουργήσει ένα κύμα αλλαγής σε ολόκληρη την Ευρώπη?
Νομίζω ότι αυτό έχει αρχίσει ήδη να φαίνεται. Από τη στιγμή που είχαμε την κυβέρνηση ΣΥΡΙΖΑ, στην Αγγλία έχουν πληθύνει φωνές, ακόμα και μέσα στο Εργατικό Κόμμα, που ζητάνε να μιλήσει το Εργατικό Κόμμα καθαρά κατά της λιτότητας. Το ίδιο συμβαίνει με τους Πράσινους, το ίδιο συμβαίνει με την αριστερά, με τις διάφορες καμπάνιες που υπάρχουν στην Αγγλία κατά της λιτότητας.
Στο Eurogroup της Τετάρτης δεν επετεύχθη κάποια συμφωνία μεταξύ των εταίρων και της ελληνικής κυβέρνησης. Πιστεύετε ότι στην αυριανή συνάντηση θα μπορέσει να υπάρξει κάποια συμφωνία και κυρίως μια υποφελή συμφωνία για την Ελλάδα?
Νομίζω ότι κάποια στιγμή οι εταίροι μας θα πρέπει να καταλάβουν τις καταστροφικές συνέπειες που έχει η στάση τους για ολόκληρη την Ευρώπη. Αυτή τη στιγμή η στάση της κυρίας Μέρκελ έχει καταδικάσει την Ευρώπη και την έχει διασπάσει. Αυτό που πολλοί πιστεύανε ότι είναι μια ένωση η οποία φέρνει κοντά τους λαούς της Ευρώπης, φαίνεται να υποστηρίζει πολύ συγκεκριμένα συμφέροντα. Αν δεν αλλάξουν στάση, αν δεν επιτευχθεί μια συμφωνία, θα είναι καταστροφικές οι συνέπειες που θα έχει για όλη την Ευρώπη.
Πιστεύετε ότι θα υποχωρήσουν στη σκληρή στάση που κρατάνε μέχρι τώρα απέναντι στην Ελλάδα?
Οφείλουν να υποχωρήσουν και φαίνεται ότι οι λόγοι που κρατάνε αυτή τη στάση δεν έχουν καμία σχέση με οικονομικούς λόγους, αλλά ιδεολογικούς λόγους. Οφείλουν να υποχωρήσουν. Τα νούμερα δείχνουν ότι το χρέος δεν είναι βιώσιμο για την Ελλάδα. Τα νούμερα δείχνουν ότι αυτή η λιτότητα έχει καταστρέψει την Ελλάδα και θα συνεχίσει να καταστρέφει και άλλες χώρες. Ο μόνος λόγος που επιμένουν είναι καθαρά ιδεολογικός, υποστηρίζουν τους εταίρους τους όλη την Ευρώπη, που αυτό που κάνουν είναι να υποστηρίζουν τις νεοφιλελεύθερες πολιτικές. Οφείλουν και πρέπει να αλλάξουν.
Η νέα κυβέρνηση μετράει λιγότερο από ένα μήνα ζωής, ωστόσο έχουν μπει, θα λέγαμε, κατευθείαν στα βαθιά. Πώς κρίνετε τη μέχρι τώρα πορεία της?
Νομίζω ότι αυτό το βλέπουμε από το πώς νιώθει ο ελληνικός λαός. Επιτέλους, ο ελληνικός λαός έχει αρχίσει να νιώθει κάποια αισιοδοξία. Έχει αρχίσει να μην νιώθει σκλάβος και να σκύβει το κεφάλι. Έχει αρχίσει να ζητάει αυτά που δικαιωματικά του ανήκουν και να λέει όχι στην καταστροφή που του έχουν επιβάλει οι προηγούμενες κυβερνήσεις, τα πολιτικά κέντρα της Ευρώπης και οι νεοφιλελεύθερες πολιτικές.
Μάλιστα, σε ευχηθούμε λοιπόν να μην διαψευστούν οι ελπίδες του ελληνικού λαού, να πάνε όλα καλά.
Και είμαστε εδώ πέρα και θα τους πολεμάμε συνέχεια όσο καιρό και μπάρει αυτό.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ, να είστε καλά.
Melene Pavlos, Paul Macney. I am the co-chair of the Greece Solidarity Campaign based in England.
What are you hoping to achieve with your presence here?
It's not just here, it's all over Europe and in America and in Australia. People are demonstrating their support for the choice of the Greek people, that they don't want to continue with this austerity which is killing the country, and that they support the new government in its negotiations in Brussels.
So what is the ideal outcome of the event here?
The ideal outcome of the event here is that lots of us show that the Greeks are not alone. As we say, in or out the Eurozone, Greece shall never stand alone. That there are millions of British people with the Greek people. For example, the British Trade Union Congress, which has 6.5 million members, are unanimous in their support of the Greek people.
Can you tell us a little bit about the banner you're holding?
Well, this says, "Let Greece breathe," and the reason it says that is partly influenced by the American movement of that name, but mainly it's because we think that the decisions of the Troika and their banker backers are basically killing Greece, suffocating Greece. When you have a situation that the debt has risen from 120% of gross national product to 175%, and the gross national product has reduced by 25%, there is no way the Greeks can pay that back. It is actually relentless torture on the part of the current leaders of Europe in enforcing draconian conditions on Greece. This is recognized. I mean, there's a statement yesterday from American trade union leaders even. There's been a statement from 13 of the 15 German leaders saying that actually the Greek people have done us a favor. They can start the process which brings an end to this relentless austerity. And good luck to everyone in Greece. We're with you, Greece.
Thank you. Thank you. Could you tell us who you are and who you're representing?
My name's Andrew Bergin. I'm from the Solidarity Campaign to support the people of Greece, and also from a political party called Left Unity, which is the sister party of Syriza in Britain.
Can you tell us what is your purpose for being here and your support to the event here today?
Well, we're here because these demonstrations and rallies are taking place across Europe to support the Greek government in its attempts to turn back austerity, to get rid of the debts that the Greek people face, but also to turn back austerity in our own country. This is a European struggle, and we don't think that the people of Greece should be left to fight alone. We think the people of Greece should have the support of all progressive peoples throughout Europe, and that's why we're here, because we think that what happens in Greece is of fundamental importance to the struggle in Britain, in France, in Spain and elsewhere.
Are you hopeful that the new Greek government is going to be able to achieve more than the previous Greek government?
Well, I think it's already achieved an enormous amount. It's reinstated the finance worker cleaners, the 795 who were on strike for 18 months. I think that's tremendously important. It's introduced a number of very important measures to realise the minimum wage and to raise the level of pensions. So it's actually introducing measures which we think are very important, and that we want to see that kind of struggle take place here. So we're very hopeful. We know that in the Eurogroup meetings and in the European Union meetings that Yanis Varoufakis and Alexis Tsipras are alone in those meetings. They're alone fighting by themselves. So we're here to say you are not alone. We are with you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a pleasure.
Hi, can you tell us what your name is?
My name's Owen Jones and I'm a journalist at The Guardian and an activist.
Can you tell us what you think the impact of the victory of Syriza in Greece is going to be, both in Europe and specifically in England?
Well, Syriza represents the first time the anti-austerity movement has come to power in Europe since the economic crisis. The Lehman Brothers came crashing down. And in the past few years, working people have been made to pay for the crisis of those at the top. And there's often been a sense of resignation. People have been encouraged to turn on immigrants, on unemployed people, on those at the bottom of society. And what Syriza represents are the politics of hope, the idea that instead of accepting austerity, becoming resigned to the situation, that actually you can have a political alternative. So what they've done is they've chipped away at the mantra of there is no alternative. They show that an alternative is possible, and in doing so they give huge encouragement to those like myself and others in Britain, in Spain, in Italy, and all over Europe who want an alternative to austerity, and that is why their victory is so significant. It marks, in my opinion, the tide is beginning to turn on austerity, and Syriza was the big, massive, fundamental change that allowed that to happen.
Do you think that the perception of the Greek people may have also changed in the mind of the people of England, for example?
Well, what we've seen in Britain and elsewhere by the media often is a absolutely outrageous portrayal of Greeks, of the Greek people, a xenophobic portrayal, being lazy and slovenly, and so on. You know, kind of almost this pathetic group of people, and they brought this on themselves. And I actually think there has been a change in perception. I think what Syriza have done so effectively is counter that propaganda. They've given Greece back its dignity. They've shown, you know, a sense of pride. And I think there's grudging respect for Greece, not just people on the left, but actually across the political spectrum. A sense of this is a people who've been made to suffer for so long, who are finally fighting to get their dignity back and their security and their futures back. So yes, I think that portrayal has been incredibly countered by Syriza, and I think the reality of Greece is actually now being able to be clear to people, and there's growing sympathy for the Greek people and the Greek plight, and I think that means Syriza have a huge amount of public opinion on their side all over the world and in this country. Well, I want to do a big plea to the Greek people, which is keep on fighting, because you're inspiring all of us, and whatever is thrown at you by the bankers, by the financiers, by the European Union, by the German government, we are standing by you in our millions all over the world. We're going to follow your example, but keep fighting, because you've given so many of us hope. And that is one of the most important things that I think you have achieved, and long may that continue.
Owen Jones, thank you very much. Thank you.
Who's spoken all around the country in the last few weeks in great demand from Syriza, based in London, working in Norwich, is Marina Prentoulis from Syriza. Big sound for Marina.
For over 6 years, we've been looking at the people of Europe, across Europe, how they've been suffering from the financial crisis and the austerity measures. For 6 years, we've seen the money of the taxpayers being given to the banks. For 6 years, we've been seeing the bonuses of the bankers growing and growing. For 6 years, we've been seeing the political class of Europe, instead of following the mandate of the people of Europe, the democratic mandate of the people of Europe, serving the interest of the ruling elites of the neoliberal policies. Today, we are all here, Greeks, Italians, Spanish, French, British, to say we had enough. On the 25th of January, with the election of Syriza, we had our first big victory. And now, with our comrades, with our leaders from Syriza, the Greeks and the people across Europe, they are saying, we had enough. We want our dignity back. We want to end the austerity policies. We want, and we are going to win. With us, we have the workers of Europe that they've seen their wages slashed. With us, we have the pensioners that they've seen their life savings reduced to nothing. With us, we have the unemployed, the students, the youth of Europe who have been robbed from our futures. With us, we have the families that they were left without homes, and they are now in the streets because of the austerity policies. With us, we have the sick people of Europe who have no access to health care anymore. All of them, they are with Syriza. All of them, they are together with the Greek people, and they demand dignity and social justice. They are trying to rob us from dignity. They are trying to destroy social justice. The fight we have in front of us, it's going to be a difficult fight. But while we will be giving this fight, we have to remember something. We, the people of Europe, we are the ones that we built Europe. We are the ones that we created democracy in Europe. We are the ones that we took the streets to fight for employment rights. We are the ones who died in the strikes for these rights. We are the people from Europe. We created Europe, and Europe's foundations are based on our blood and our sacrifices. They have nothing that they can rob us. This is our rights. What we are doing here today is reminding them that today we are all Greeks and today we are all Syriza.
Our second speaker is from the mass movement in Britain against austerity, the People's Assembly. It's John Rees.
Thank you very much, Paul. I don't think any of us are in a moment's doubt about the significance of the election of Syriza in Greece. It represents the first time since the 2008 crash that hope has entered the dialogue with the bankers, the bosses and the governments of Europe. It is the first time that any people has elected a government which says plainly and simply, austerity is not working. It is perhaps even more significant than that, because it is perhaps the first time since neoliberal economics came to dominate our lives under Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan that any people has stood up and said, we simply will not take this anymore. That's the message. We won't take it anymore. But let's be clear where this challenge came from. It is so much more than a single election of a single party. Because this party came from the streets. This party came from the unions. This party came from the direct struggle of ordinary working people. It is a creation of a mass movement, and it was elected because it is the creation of a mass movement. And more than this, because it faces now challenges and threats from the rich, from the bankers, from the governments, from the Troika, because it faces the mass ranks of the powerful and the wealthy, it can only succeed if it is defended in the streets, if it is defended by the unions, if it is defended by the people of Europe from one end of the continent to another. The fate of Syriza is in all our hands. And for that reason, the People's Assembly is calling for a mass demonstration against austerity 6 weeks after the general election in this country, because there is one thing that is sure about the next general election here, that whatever government comes to power, it will try and enforce austerity, and we are going to take to the streets in this country to say we will not have it here, because they have not had it in Greece and it should not be imposed anywhere. So I give you this pledge, and it is a pledge I believe that millions of people in this country also subscribe to. It is this: I was the first person in my family to be born in an NHS hospital. I was the first person in my family to come home to a publicly owned council house. I was the first person in my family who throughout my lifetime, if I felt ill, I was cared for by a National Health Service. I was the first person in my family ever to go to university. But I tell you this, and I tell David Cameron this, and I tell Ed Miliband this, I will not be the last working person in this country that defends the welfare state, that defends the NHS, that defends public education.
As ever, excellent. We have another excellent speaker for you now. But first, some news. If you didn't know it, the Green Party in Greece, Prasino, supported Syriza and stood with Syriza in the election. Our next speaker, she was the chair of the Coalition of Resistance. She's still involved with the People's Assembly, but today she's here speaking for the Green Party. Romain Phoenix.
I was very proud and, as you can imagine, very relieved when the Greek Ecology Party decided eventually, after several elections, that they would stand on the electoral register with Syriza. It made my heart sing, it made me glad. The Greens reject austerity economics, they reject profit before people, and now we are part of the anti-austerity government in Greece as part of Syriza, and I am very pleased about that. Our one, so far, Green MP in Parliament in Westminster, she had no problem sending best wishes directly to Alexis Tsipras before the election, and our Green MEPs had no trouble immediately sending messages of support to the government once Syriza's great victory was known. We want to stand with anti-austerity governments across Europe. How are we going to make that start? It started in Greece. Who knows what might happen in Spain? As John said, whatever happens in our elections here, we know that we will be facing austerity economics for some time soon. But the Greens are experiencing a surge in support here, and that is in no small part due to the fact that we support anti-austerity economics, a new way forward. We agree with the government of Syriza that there is no way that we can tackle any of our problems, social or environmental, while we have austerity economics. And there are bigger battles out there that we need to fight. When I was in the Syriza office 2 years ago, Tsipras, and we can laugh now, I don't know why I was confident, but I was confident. I think in that week they were in the polls between 3.5 and 3.8% as far as popularity was concerned. But Tsipras said, even if we achieve government, that will only be 10% of the effort that we need to achieve the changes that we need. And that means to overthrow capitalism, to overthrow the ruling class, and to make sure that the majority of the people of Europe can stand together and make a decision for the future that we want. The only way we are going to be able to do that is by being out on the streets in all the cities across Europe and internationally, standing up against the ruling class and saying the future we need must have the people and our planet and our future before you profiteers, the greed and control. They have the wealth, they have the media, we have the masses. So workers of the world, workers for the world, unite. We have a job to do. Thank you.
We have been asked to have a special speaker here, and it relates to the National Gallery. Someone who has supported the people of Greece, but the reason we're asking her to say a few words is because she has been suspended for trade union activities by the National Gallery. She's a member of PCS Union. After that, we have Jeremy Corbyn MP, Billy Hayes from the TUC and many more. Candy, are you here?
Thank you, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak here, because although I can't speak about my own situation because the gallery won't let me, that has not stopped us from speaking out against the gallery's plans. And I'm very proud to say that from next Sunday, the people who work here will be on strike again for 5 days. And we'll be on strike against the gallery's plans to privatise 400 out of the 600 staff. We know that these plans are linked to the government's austerity policies. They want to make cuts and then they give our public services to their friends in private companies. And we know what that means. It means worse conditions, worse pay and worse services. And we say the people who work here, who look after the paintings and look after the public, are part of museums and galleries, and it's a reflection that that culture should be part of the kind of society that we want to live in, not just one that's about making profit. And the reason why we think that we can win is because we find only 3 people who think that it's a good idea. We call them our troika. They include Mark Getty, a billionaire who runs this gallery as chair of trustees when he doesn't even pay his staff the living wage. It's an absolute scandal. But the other reason why we think we can win is because of the fantastic support that we have had from all over the country, from tens of thousands of people literally signing our petitions, donating thousands of pounds. And that, I think, can give us all hope, because we haven't had general strikes like they have in Greece, but we have had victories here. We take courage from the Lambeth College strikers who won, from the St Mungo's workers who won. So please support us. Come down next week, because if we can win, that won't just be a victory for us. It will be building our movement in this country against cuts and privatisation and austerity. Thank you.
Sorry about the post.
Right, I think you need to exercise your voices a little bit, because you've been listening a lot. So if you can say with all of us, we won't forgive, we won't forget, Angela Merkel, drop the debt. We won't forgive, we won't forget, Angela Merkel, drop the debt. We won't forgive, we won't forget, Angela Merkel, drop the debt. Our next speaker is from Spain, from the Podemos or Podemos party. As they say behind me, venceremos, Podemos, Podemos will win. And it's Laura Gutierrez.
I'm one of the 2 million people, Spanish people, who live abroad because at home we cannot do other thing than live from the solidarity of our families and friends. One of those 2 million people who, on top of having to live abroad, can hardly manage to have a say on the elections of our own country. Only 3% of us managed to vote in the past elections, thanks to the new regulations of the law. On the other hand, I'm one of the only 2 million Spanish people who still got the right to protest, thanks to the new gun law, where freedom of speech and demonstrate has been banned at home. That is how they want us. They want us without votes and without votes. So they can perpetuate in the power without any opposition. And this seems to be a problem not only of the Spanish society, but quite a global one. Yes, we dream, but we take seriously our dreams. And we dream with a democracy where we got the right to vote. And we dream with a democracy where we got the right to protest. You know, last time I voted, my ballots came to my home. There were the ballots from political parties, but I didn't receive any ballot from the Troika, IMF, or the European Central Bank, or any other economical power. We are supposed to be living in a democracy, but these economical powers that nobody did vote for are governing our lives. They are governing our lives without any legal legitimacy, without any logical reason for it, and most importantly, without any minimal sign of ethical principles, pity, or any compassion towards the millions of people who are badly affected by their greediness. Greediness without limits. Greediness that is closing the schools, hospitals, leaving people without jobs, education, and medical attention. Greediness to the point of evicting all people from their houses, evicting that same old people who spend all their lives working for us, working to build up the society that we have inherited. Yes, we dream, but we take seriously our dreams. And we dream with a democracy that is ruled by those who we vote for on the elections. These economical powers that we govern our lives and countries says that we own the money. But I wonder, what is economy? I don't know. I work on a health-related profession. For me, economy is an abstract concept. I don't understand it, but neither I want to. Because what I do understand is that no matter how big those figures are, no figure big enough to become a reason to leave people on the streets, close hospitals and schools, and leave millions of people living on misery. There is no reason good enough to do any of these things, but even less when we got enough resources and we are rescuing the banks, those same banks that are evicting us from their houses. I never see a bank working hard on the land to grow up vegetables. What I see in my life is that working people, that 99% of the population building our society, that 99% that is supposed to have the debt. Those are the people we owe something to. Those are the people I believe we got a debt with. Yes, we dream, but we take seriously our dreams. And we dream with a democracy where politicians don't work for the economy, but where politicians use the economy to implement policies in favor of people. Most of our politicians seem to govern just for the elites and follow the rules of the economic dictatorship we are living in. That economic dictatorship that even dare to harass our whole country, Greece. They dare to tell Greece what they have to vote. They tell Greece people what they have to vote, that they have to vote for those parties who are going to continue governing for them. We are supposed to be living in a democracy. The Troika, the European Central Bank, and IMF do not have any right to intervene on the vote of the people. Neither do politicians have any right to govern for the economic dictators. Politicians are public servants and they should be working for us, not for the common people. You are abusing your power and we are here to say enough is enough. We got our democracy back, our rights and our lives back. We are not for sale, we don't have any money to pay back your debt, but yeah, we got a life to live and that's exactly what we are going to do. Yes, we dream, but we take seriously our dreams, and we dream with a Greece, a Spain, a Europe where normal people can live their lives with dignity. Thanks, Greece, for opening the way. You are the spearhead that will help us to take back Europe. We took the squares, we are taking the parliaments, and we are going to take back the power. Greece, our hearts and our hopes are with you. We are here to support you. Another world is possible, and all of us together are going to make it happen. Siriza podemos, venceremos.
Let's have some venceremos, come on.
Siriza podemos, venceremos.
First we have, straight from Athens today, someone who's been involved in organizing the social solidarity movement, the clinics, the potato people, the support which people who have lost their rights under the memoranda from the Troika, and it's Christos Givanopoulos.
Γεια σας, χαιρετίσματα από την Αθήνα και θέλουμε να ευχαριστήσουμε όλους που βρίσκονται εδώ πέρα, Έλληνες και μη, όλη την Ευρώπη που έχει ξεσηκωθεί, όλο τον κόσμο που βλέπει μια ελπίδα στην Ελλάδα, μια ελπίδα που συνεχίζει γιατί την έχουμε πάρει και εμείς από αλλού. Από τη Λατινική Αμερική, από τα κινήματα των πλατιών, από την Αραβική Άνοιξη, άσχετα πώς κατέληξε και ελπίζω εμείς να πετύχουμε λίγο καλύτερα. So, I would like to thank you, all of you, to thank all the people that are here. I bring you the warmest greetings from Athens. Your contribution has been immense to encourage the Greek people all these very hard years. These years that they have seen their country changing, they have seen their lives changing. They could not see any other future, any future for them. But they didn't give up. It was not a moment that the Greek people gave up. It took a while until we managed to remove this Troika regime, this regime of austerity and social barbarism. But at the end, we made it. And I think we didn't make it alone. We made it along with all the movements around Europe, with the Squares occupation movement, the Occupy, the Arab Spring, that was an inspiration also for us. We made it, and this is not, and for that reason, we understand that whatever happens in Greece, it depends not only on Greek people, and if we want to be successful, we have to build an international movement, and we have to bring the insurgency and the overthrowing of this system everywhere. I want to tell a few things about the grassroots solidarity movement in Greece. This grassroots solidarity movement, it was not just an alternative in a system of injustice. It was not a charity system. It was not NGOs that they get funding from those that they suppress us. It was a movement that came out of the political struggle of the Greek people against their dominators, either national or international. It was a movement that is based in self-organization and direct democracy. It was a movement that deepens the democracy exactly at the time that they hijack democracy from us. It is a movement that builds its own institutions and it meets the immediate needs of the people in order these people to be able to stand up with dignity and carry on fighting. And at the same time, it has produced a different way of organizing the life around the needs of the people with the participation and the engagement of these people. And this is where the biggest seed of hope has been put in the ground. And this is why we say that we cannot win if we don't meet two requirements. One, it is to even further increase the rooting of this movement, to organize even better the Greek people. And the Greek government knows that. And that we hope that we collaborate together as we do until now, in order to be able to endure the pressures and the blackmailings that they come from all these international and capitalist bastards. Okay. So the second requirement, it is we should not forget the international dimension. And I think what is happening here today, what has happened the last weeks, what has happened the last years, it is exactly the building of a new round of building a new internationalist movement between the people. That people can identify with each other, can embrace with each other, and can separate from the leaders of their country that in reality they work against them. Okay, so I don't have many other things to say. I think that we should do our best all together to not allow the capitalists of Europe to unite against Greece. We should do all together whatever it's possible in order to spread the contamination of the revolt everywhere, to fight for the success of Podemos and the movements in Spain, to fight for a political change in this country, to strengthen our movements from below and strengthen our relationships and roots with the people. This is the mistake. Thank you. No, sorry, this is a secret, not a mistake.
Good luck. Our next speaker has written 2 best-selling books. Can I ask people not to stand on the cable? Has written 2 best-selling books, Some of you may have seen them or read them. Chavs is one of them. And he's also a journalist. He was in Athens for the election result on election night. It's Owen Jones.
Friends, over the last few years, Europe has lived through a long, dark night. But in Greece, finally, dawn is breaking. The defining issue of our time is who caused this crisis and who has been made to pay for it. It wasn't public sector workers who plunged this continent and much of the world into economic calamity, nor was it working people, nor unemployed people whose ranks have swelled since Lehman Brothers came crashing down. Neither was it immigrants or poor people or those without adequate housing or the young or the hungry, and yet they have been made to pay for a crisis they had absolutely nothing to do with whatsoever. All the gains, all the rights we enjoy in this country and in Greece and across Europe, not granted to us by the goodwill and generosity of the powerful, but won through the struggle and sacrifice of our ancestors. They are the giants on whose shoulders we stand. And everything they fought for at such cost and at such sacrifice is being stripped away across Europe. Social provision under attack, the wages and living standards of working people ever chipped away, the rights of workers stolen, public assets that belong to the people flogged off to profiteers. We say austerity has failed, and yes, the consequences have been economically disastrous, but they have not failed for those at the top, the mean and the greedy, who thrive like never before. And just look at what they've done. Look at what they have done to Greece. A quarter of the economy gone. Over half of all young people without work, robbed of security and dignity and a future. Poverty nearly doubled. People deprived of healthcare, and it gets worse. Death. The suicide rate, the infant mortality rate, all have soared. These are not just injustices. These are crimes. Crimes committed against the Greek people. But friends, when I went to Greece, I saw something so precious, so incredible, so inspiring. I saw hope. I saw hope everywhere. The defenders of all unjust orders throughout the generations. They make us believe that injustice is like the weather, that you can complain about it raining, but there's nothing you can do about it. But hope says otherwise. Hope says that all injustice is transient, is temporary. It can be overcome with enough determination and solidarity, and all injustice in Greece and elsewhere will be overcome. The Greek people, they spoke loudly and defiantly. They said, we will no longer be made to pay for a crisis we had absolutely nothing to do with. They said, we will no longer accept a future of ever-declining living standards and ever-growing poverty. We will no longer accept rules by financiers and bankers and bureaucrats we never even voted for. Friends, they said they will restore their democracy and build a society free of poverty and insecurity and misery. And their cry was not just heard in Athens. It was not just heard in Crete. It was heard in every corner of this globe. Because Greece, you are not just fighting for yourselves. You're fighting for us all. Every person unemployed, their wages falling, their services under attack. Greece is fighting for all of you. And that's why we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to stand by Greece as they are attacked by the German government. by the EU bureaucracy and by international finance. And Angela Merkel, we have a very clear message for you. We are coming for you, and in time we will defeat you and your government. So thank you. To finish up, thank you, Greece. Thank you for giving us hope. Thank you for showing us an alternative. Thank you for giving us leadership, for showing we can fight back. We can build a different sort of world. And in exchange, let us say this to you. However much they throw at you, however much you are menaced and threatened by the banks, the bureaucrats, we will never, ever give up on you. We stand by you to the end, and we will follow your example. We will vanquish not just austerity, but we will defeat an entire system run in the interests of bankers and tax dodgers and poverty-paying bosses. We stand together, we fight together, and friends, we will win this battle together. Solidarity.
Mazi Sa Nakisame, thank you. Who has been with us through many anti-austerity struggles, who went to Greece as the first MP to visit Alexis Tsipras 3 years ago, before most people had heard of him. I'm sure he can tell us himself what he found there. Jeremy Corbyn, MP.
Thanks, Paul. That visit to Greece 3 years ago was memorable for many things. One, the way Owen described seeing hope. At that time, yes, there was some hope, but there was also desperate fear, as people saw everything they knew and valued in their communities and societies being destroyed and closed down and sold off to the bidders from abroad who were buying up all the real estate, even the roads, the railways and everything else as the mad privatisation programme went on. Alex Tsipras and I spoke at a rally in a small town outside Athens. He told me that very few people had been there when he'd been 2 elections before, only a few more the election just before that. This election, small town, 2,500 people there, desperate to hear that there was an alternative to austerity. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow when the European Council meets, but I do know this. The election result in Greece is a complete game changer all across Europe, because it's shown that there is a movement for an alternative economic strategy. An economic strategy that sees the solution to Europe's problems not in turning on the minorities, not in turning on the poor, not on destroying public services and privatising which enriches the rich, but something different. Anti-austerity movement that empowers the poor and gives the resources that are necessary for all our children to achieve in school and in education. That is the message that's coming, and that message is emboldening people all across Europe. And if ever there was anyone needed a message this week, it's got to be the British Parliament and the British government. HSBC Bank, the world's favourite local bank, apparently has been squirreling away £22 billion in a tax haven in Switzerland in return for only 135 million in taxation. It's a very low rate of return, I might add. And they have been doing it, as have many other banks have been doing it. How about the ministers tomorrow say, we're going to shut down and close down every tax haven in every country all across Europe. And you simply pay your taxes where you live and where you work. You don't have the alternative of private banking and sticking it in Switzerland, the Cayman Islands, the Turks and Caicos, Isle of Man, Channel Isles, or wherever else it happens to be. That surely has to be the message. There were a group of us there on Thursday at the demonstration. Other MPs, Chris Williamson, Diane Abbott, John McDonnell, Katie Clark, Ian Lavery, Graham Morris, and joined by Conor Murphy of Sinn Féin, a very devoted anti-austerity, anti-corruption party. What we need is to move British politics on, and this event is doing it The anti-austerity movement is doing it. The message from Greece is doing it. Stand together with Syriza against the EU Central Bank and the Monetary Fund and all their agenda of poverty and austerity, and stand together for people to have their wishes of education, health, housing and hope. The alternative is the growth of the far right and fascism. You all know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, I'm delighted to say, is from the Italian resistance to austerity. Syriza, when we meet them in Greece, always stress the importance of Italy coming in behind them. And the speaker is Andrea Passuaro.
Dear friends, I'm honored to be here today in representation of my party, Sinistra, Ecologia e Libertà. However, today I represent a wider network within the Italian community in the UK who feel a sense of solidarity towards the Greek people and who support the struggle of the Greek government of Alexis Tsipras to change European politics. European politics needs to change because the past 5 years has been very grim. If Angela Merkel had to write a manifesto a few years back, she would have started like this. A spectre is haunting around Europe, the spectre of austerity. Why I say this? Because austerity is an ideology. It's an ideology which says that the crisis of a broken financial system should be paid by ordinary people, by students, by workers, by unemployed who have nothing to do with finance. Austerity is the ideology which says that the stability of financial markets comes before the stability of our own societies. Austerity is that ideology which says that we should do structural reform urgently. It's urgent to do structural reform, to cut on our hospitals, on our schools, on our universities, but we can close an eyes for 5 years on the rich customers of HSBC who didn't want to pay their taxes. And all the government of Europe joined this ideology. They all told us that austerity was the way to fix our economies. Well, it didn't. It didn't fix our economies, neither where it was mild, like here in the UK, where it worsened the living condition of all the people, nor where it was savage, like in Greece, where it destroyed a quarter of the national economy and generated a humanitarian crisis. This is why today we are here not just in solidarity towards the Greek people, but in solidarity to all those who suffered because of austerity, in Greece, in Italy, in Spain, in Portugal, everywhere in Europe. This is why today we should say that this is not a clash between Germany and Greece. It is a clash between the financial institutions which makes profit out of money and the ordinary people who live out of their work. But we are here today also because Greek people has reminded us something. They have reminded us that there can be no Europe without solidarity. Solidarity among people and solidarity across states. Solidarity, freedom and democracy were the very values at the heart of the original idea of Europe. They were at the heart of the Manifesto di Ventotene, written in a little island off the coast of Rome in the summer of 1941, while Europe was devastated by war and the anti-fascists Altiero Spinelli and Ernesto Rossi wrote their manifesto. This is why today is not just about ending austerity. It is about reclaiming Europe as a world of democracy and justice. I want to finish saying this. Yesterday in Rome, 50,000 people gathered together to support the Greek government and the Greek people. And I want to tell you this, Italy will join you guys. We will unite with you. to overcome this austerity. We will defeat the ideology of austerity. We will reclaim democracy and justice. We will build a better Europe. Thank you.
Now, a very important group who were actually, many of them, disenfranchised in Greece in the last election because the election was called quickly and the voting list wasn't up to date. This important group are the youth and students. And we have a speaker today from the National Campaign Against Fees and Cuts, Beth Redmond.
Hi everyone, my name's Beth Redmond and I'm here to bring solidarity to Greek working class in Syriza from a student organisation here in the UK called the National Campaign Against Fees and Cuts. We've been inspired by what's happening in Greece in our fight against austerity, our fight against the bosses and for a free and liberated education system. This demo here that's happening now is so important because we're not just spectators of history, but we are active participants. The success of Syriza depends not on clever negotiations, but mobilisation of workers in Greece and across the rest of Europe. I want to send solidarity in particular to the left in Syriza with groups like DEA and the revolutionaries in the left platform. Let's keep up this movement and help Syriza by fighting the class struggle here in the UK. Thank you.
And her name is Cherry Sewell. She's the treasurer for the Greece Solidarity Campaign.
Hi. I think the sun from Greece is with us today. What a fantastic day. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I just want to say a few words about the Greece Solidarity Campaign, who together with London Syriza has organised today. We were set up maybe 4 years ago, and Tony Benn, late Tony Benn, was our first president. We have been campaigning for 4 years. We sent delegations to Greece, so a lot of people from UK have been to Athens and met lots of different people in different situations. But we need, for this huge task ahead of us, you to get involved. It's great you're here today, but we'd like you to do more. So to do more, you could, for example, join the Greece Solidarity Campaign. So you go to the Greece Solidarity Campaign website, to the tab Join Us, and you do what's suggested there. If you're in an organisation, if you're in a trade union, if you're in a local community or an anti-cuts organisation, you could affiliate to the Greece Solidarity Campaign. Again, you can see how to do it on the website. Increasingly, some of the organisations affiliated to us want to form solidarity links with people in Greece. So, for example, Save Lewisham Hospital campaign is twinning, well, they don't really like the word, they're forming solidarity links with Evangelismus Hospital, which is the biggest hospital in Athens, but it's in the Balkans even, but it's had its cash reserves stripped bare by the Troika. So it's in dire need. And so when we took the chair of the Save Lewisham Hospital campaign to Athens, she wanted to set up a solidarity link. There are lots of things you could do. Perhaps the most direct thing you could do is you could give money so that we can carry on campaigning, but we need more of you to be involved. So think about it, look at the website, look at the Facebook, come and talk to us and get involved. We need to fight with Greece so that the Syriza government can win and stay in power.
I've been asked to use one of our slogans, which contains a Greek word which all the Greeks here will know, but the English people won't know so well. And the English translation rhymes with bankers. And the slogan is, the Troika and their banker backers are just a bunch of rich malakas. So I think you can let yourself go and say that. The Troika and their banker backers are just a bunch of rich malakas. Well done. And the final story, when Angela Merkel came to meet David Cameron the other week, she went to the British Museum because there was an exhibition on Germany. And we contacted the director of the British Museum, and we had a little demonstration outside the British Museum. And we said to the director, look, we've a deal to suggest to you. You can keep Angela Merkel and put her with the mummies, but we want you to give the Parthenon marbles back to Athens. Thank you for coming. Watch out for the notices. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you especially to the people who did the megaphone. Mazi sa nikisame. Mazi sa nikisame. Thank you. I can't hear
Πώς λέγεστε?
Θοδωρής Κουλούρης, είμαι καθηγητής θεωρίας στο Πανεπιστήμιο του Brighton.
Μπορείτε να μας πείτε για ποιο λόγο ήρθατε στο event εδώ?
Εάν δεν έλθουμε εμείς, ποιος θα έλθει? Εδώ είμαστε Έλληνες, χρόνια πολλά στην Αγγλία, είμαστε πολύ ευχαριστημένοι με την επιτυχία του ΣΥΡΙΖΑ και ήρθαμε για να κάνουμε κάτι και εδώ. Υπάρχει ένα τρομερό κίνημα υποστήριξης της πολιτικής του ΣΥΡΙΖΑ, της πολιτικής της αντιλιτότητας και ήρθαμε εδώ για να υποστηρίξουμε.
Τι επιπτώσεις πιστεύετε ότι θα έχει και αυτό το event εδώ στο Trafalgar Square, αλλά και γενικά οι κινητοποιήσεις που γίνονται και για την ελληνική θέση στις διαπραγματεύσεις, αλλά και γενικά για την πολιτική που υπάρχει αυτή τη στιγμή στην Ευρώπη?
Κοιτάξτε να δείτε, δεν είναι ότι αυτές οι συγκεντρώσεις αυτού του αριθμού, αυτής της ποσότητας των ανθρώπων θα αλλάξει κάτι πραγματικό, αλλά λίγες παντού σε όλη την Ευρώπη, κάποια θα υπάρξει κάποιο αποτέλεσμα κάποια στιγμή. Και βέβαια είναι πολύ. Εγώ, παραδείγματος χάρη, εάν ανήκε στην κυβέρνηση αυτή τη στιγμή της Ελλάδας, θα έπαιρνε πολύ κουράγιο από το γεγονός ότι υπάρχουν χιλιάδες συγκεντρώσεις χιλιάδων ανθρώπων σε όλη την Ευρώπη υποστηρίζοντας εμάς τους Έλληνες.
Τι πιστεύετε ότι θα συμβεί από εδώ και μετά, συνολικά στην ευρωπαϊκή πολιτική σκηνή? Και στην Αγγλία έχουμε σε 2-3 μήνες εκλογές, και στην Ελλάδα από εδώ και πέρα.
Κοιτάξτε, το μεγάλο πρόβλημα της Αγγλίας, γιατί εγώ ζω χρόνια εδώ, είναι ότι δεν έχουν αυτό το πράγμα που είχαμε εμείς στην Ελλάδα. Δηλαδή δεν έχουν το ΣΥΡΙΖΑ, δηλαδή δεν έχουν πράγμα που ένα κόμμα να ενώσει την αριστερά. Αυτή τη στιγμή υπάρχει το Left Unity, για το οποίο εγώ αυτό θα υποστηρίξω και υπάρχουν κάποιες ελπίδες, αλλά δεν είναι πολύ. Είναι νωρίς ακόμα, δεν ξέρουμε τι μπορεί να γίνει. Τώρα, αυτό που υποστηρίζω εγώ και με χαροποιεί που βλέπω είναι ότι υπάρχει μια αναζωπήρωση του populism, του λαϊκισμού που λέμε, αλλά όχι το λαϊκισμό όπως τον χρησιμοποιούμε στο Sky και στα παπαγαλάκια της διαπλοκής στην Αθήνα, αλλά της δύναμης του λαού. Δηλαδή μια επιστροφή της δύναμης του λαού, της οριζόντιας αντιπροσώπησης του λαού. Και αυτό είναι πάρα πολύ καλό βέβαια.
Κύριε Κουγιούρη, σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Και εγώ.
Κύριε Σίδωρο Διακίδη, ευχαριστούμε πολύ που είσαστε μαζί μας. Θα θέλαμε να μας πείτε δύο πράγματα για εσάς και πώς σας φάνηκε η σημερινή ημέρα.
Εγώ μένω τώρα στην Αγγλία γύρω στα 40 τόσα χρόνια, μετά που τελείωσα το Πολυτεχνείο στην Ελλάδα. Είμαι δημοτικός σύμβουλος τα τελευταία 20 χρόνια εδώ στο Λονδίνο και είμαι ο συμπρόεδρος της Αγγλικής Επιτροπής Αλληλεγγύης με την Ελλάδα που οργάνωσε αυτό σήμερα και στην Εκτελεστική Επιτροπή του Ευρωπαϊκού Δικτύου Αλλοδαπών Δημοτικών Συμβούλων.
Πώς σας φάνηκε η σημερινή μέρα, η ανταπόκριση του κόσμου?
Είναι τρομερά επιτυχής, πάρα πολύ ενθαρρυντική, αλλά η αλήθεια είναι ότι αυτή τη στιγμή η δημόσια, δηλαδή ο Κοσμάκης εδώ στην Αγγλία είναι πάρα πολύ συμπαθητικός γενικά στο τι προσπαθεί να κάνει η Ελλάδα.
Είχαμε τη στήριξη και από άλλους φορείς σήμερα και από κάποιες οργανώσεις για το νέο σύστημα της Ελλάδος. Μίλησαν. Εσάς πώς σας φαίνεται οι εξελίξεις, η νέα πολιτική παράταξη?
Εδώ το βασικό το θέμα για μας είναι ότι ό,τι γίνεται αυτή τη στιγμή στην Ελλάδα δεν είναι μόνο για την Ελλάδα, δεν είναι για την Ελλάδα. Η Ελλάδα συμβαίνει να είναι η μπροστινή γραμμή σε ένα πόλεμο τώρα αυτή τη στιγμή μεταξύ όλων των ανθρώπων της Ευρώπης και ορισμένα διεθνή συμφέροντα. Και αυτό το καταλαβαίνουν πάρα πολύ εδώ, ειδικά τα εργατικά συνδικάτα και αρκετοί από τους πολιτικούς. Και γι' αυτό το νιώθουν ότι δεν είναι μια μάχη μόνο για την Ελλάδα, αλληλεγγύη με την Ελλάδα, είναι μια μάχη για αυτούς και για τους ίδιους τους ανθρώπους. Και γι' αυτό έχουμε αυτή την επιτυχία, τις χιλιάδες τα άτομα σήμερα, μέσα σε 3, 4, 5 μέρες το οργανώσαμε και είδατε πόσες χιλιάδες άτομα βγήκανε.
Πώς θα βλέπετε τα πράγματα και μετά από αυτή την συγκέντρωση σε συλλαλητήριο για το μέλλον της Ελλάδος και της Ευρώπης γενικότερα?
Το μέλλον της Ελλάδος, νομίζω ότι η Ελλάδα έκανε τη σωστή επιλογή αυτή τη στιγμή, γιατί ήταν προφανέστατο ότι με τον τρόπο που πηγαίναμε προηγουμένως δεν πετυχαίναμε, γινόταν χειρότερη η κατάσταση, εντάξει. Οπότε χρειαζόταν μια αλλαγή. Αλλά δεν θέλω να υποτιμήσουμε κιόλας ότι αυτή η αλλαγή σημαίνει ότι κάνουμε μια πρόκληση σε τρομερά δυνατά συμφέροντα. Δηλαδή δεν το υποτιμώ αυτό καθόλου και γι' αυτό χρειαζόμαστε τώρα σε όλη την Ευρώπη την υποστήριξη του τι προσπαθεί να κάνει η Ελλάδα. Γιατί όπως είπα, δεν είναι μόνο για την Ελλάδα, είναι για όλους τους λαούς της Ευρώπης.
Ποιο είναι το μήνυμά σας προς τους Έλληνες και προς όλο τον κόσμο?
Δώστε στην Ελλάδα μια ευκαιρία. Αυτό είναι μόνο. Νομίζω ότι έχουμε τη σωστή συνταγή αυτή τη στιγμή, όχι μόνο για μας, αλλά και για όλη την Ευρώπη. Αλλά πρέπει να μας δοθεί μια ευκαιρία, να μην μας το κόψουν πριν αρχίσει. Αυτό είναι το βασικότερο.
Σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Σας ευχαριστώ και εγώ. Γεια σας.
Hi, could you tell us what your name is?
Hello, I'm Paul O'Brien. I'm Irish, living in London. I'm a doctor and I work in the NHS in London.
Could you tell us why you've come here today?
What we see happening in Greece is very exciting. There's the first time we've seen in Europe some party coming to power that actually is obviously and overtly anti-austerity. We've seen what a disaster austerity is across Europe, that it has proved, so harmful for so many people, that we get great inspiration, and it's lovely to be here actually, to feel the strength of in a way, the hope. I would love to be in Athens today. I'd love to feel the spirit there, because I've spoken to some Greek people, and that feeling of return of sort of dignity, of pride actually was what they said. And that's lovely to see, because I know it's hard. People have hard lives in Greece and here as well. And so it's when hope comes, I want to feel it. I want to be a part of it.
Do you think that the turn of events in Greece with the Syriza winning the elections is going to have an impact in what's happening in Europe or even specifically in the UK?
It's difficult to say. I mean, I think it's actually changed things. There is now an alternative. People said, actually, the Greek people have stood up and said, yes, we can do it differently. Now, it's hard to know how much that will be listened to. There's, a few thousand people here today that support it, and around the country, I know. But it's probably not enough in itself to make that much of a difference across Europe. I think that we will hope. What I think we must really look for, and it was reassuring this morning to hear that there's some Greek or German trade unionists that give support to Greece and to Syriza, because that is hugely important, what happens there. In the UK, we're very disappointed that the Labour Party have been so quiet, couldn't even sort of congratulate Syriza or Tsipras on the election, so that's very disappointing. There are some smaller parties here, like the Green Party, for one, that feels at one with Syriza and as an anti-austerity party, and that's encouraging. So there are some signs here of people being against austerity, and the Syriza victory will give great encouragement to us here.
Πείτε μας τη γνώμη σας για το πώς πήγε η εκδήλωση.
Θεωρώ εξαιρετικά σημαντικές όλες αυτές τις συγκεντρώσεις που γίνονται σε όλη την Ευρώπη, γιατί ακριβώς είναι αυτό το κομμάτι, το αδύναμο σημείο για όλες τις, για τους ηγέτες της Ευρώπης, για αυτούς που καθορίζουν τις τύχες μας στην Ευρώπη. Γιατί ακριβώς αυτό που φοβούνται είναι η κινητοποίηση του κόσμου, ακόμα κι αν δεν είναι τόσος πολύς να γεμίσει τη Trafalgar Square, αλλά ξέρουν όμως ότι αυτή η μαγιά είναι πολύ δυναμική και μπορεί να παίξει ένα ρόλο για να ξεσηκώσει όλο τον κόσμο σε μια διαφορετική προοπτική, σε αυτή την προοπτική της ελπίδας που βλέπουμε να χτίζεται στην Ελλάδα και να ξεκινάει από την Νότια Ευρώπη, όχι μόνο στην Ελλάδα. Και το λέω αυτό αναλογιζόμενος ακριβώς πώς ήταν πριν 6 χρόνια στην Ελλάδα και αν κανείς μπορεί να φανταστεί, που είχαμε ανάλογου τύπου συγκεντρώσεις, και αν μπορεί κανείς τότε μπορούσε να φανταστεί ότι θα υπάρξει αυτή η τεράστια αλλαγή που έγινε. Οπότε θεωρώ εξαιρετικά σημαντική αυτή την προσπάθεια, και που είναι μια προσπάθεια που με τη βοήθεια, με τη σύνδεση του ελληνικού κινήματος με το κίνημα στην Βρετανία και κύρια με το ρόλο του Greece Solidarity Campaign εδώ πέρα, έχουμε καταφέρει να χτιστούν αυτοί οι δεσμοί των λαών πέρα από το τι θέλουν οι κυβερνήσεις, για να μπορέσουμε να αλλάξουμε την κατάσταση προς όφελος όλων.
Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Τίποτα.
Could you tell us your thoughts about what's happening in Greece at the moment?
Well, from what I can see from just what I learn on my television and on the internet, it seems very inspiring that new coalitions are being formed and that people are organising in new ways to confront institutions that for the last 2 or 3 decades have been unimpeachable and have had total dominion. It's wonderful to see what happens when people come together, that these institutions and corporations such as big banks or the European Union can be confronted and challenged, and that change is possible. That change is possible. This myth that there is stasis, the myth of trickle down, that all these myths are being challenged by the Greek people, one of the places where the best myths emerged from, incidentally.
Do you think this may have an impact in what's happening here and the perception of things of the English people, or maybe even in the upcoming English elections?
Well, at the moment we don't have an electoral system or a party that could bring about anything comparable to what's happened in Greece, because we still have first past the post electoral system. But certainly it's very inspiring for people to see that real change is possible and that a new type of politics is emerging, both in your country and in Spain.
Thank you. I know you've been very vocal about your views and you've said them on many occasions to the English audience. Do you have a message for the Greek people?
People of Greece, once again, you have emerged as pioneers at the forefront of new ideas. This is a new Greece. Once again, we see Sophocles, Socrates, Aristotle and Pythagoras. New ideas emerging from Greece, a new classicism, a chance for new democracy. Thank you, people of Greece, for your bravery and suffering.
Russell Brand, thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Thank you.